Hey, good morning, everybody. What's happening? Just coming at you live from behind the scenes in the broadcast room where I broadcast from CCV, the CCV live programming every week. And so I thought I would do a little bit of a live behind the scenes, and that's what we're doing here. I'm going to close the door so I don't interrupt the other broadcast engineer, so I'll be right back. So I've automated some of my programming, so I'm able to do this live stream for you guys. And right now we're in pre-service. Service is about to start in about 10 minutes. And right now I'm rolling. Let's see, let's get rid of some of that. Right now I'm rolling some of the CCV music, which is fantastic. And we have a special weekend this weekend, which we have a guest speaker, Kirk Cousins, which is quarterback from Minnesota Vikings, is here, and which is really great. On top of that, next week we have a worship night, and we're going to be broadcasting that, and I might be doing a little bit of behind the scenes on that. I'm not sure yet. It just depends on the bandwidth. Being able to do that, but I like to take you along for the ride. So I have a graphics computer over here that I'm triggering. I have the Grass Valley video record and playback, and then I have the Wirecast broadcast, as well as a living in one encoder, and I have an Ultrastudio here as well. My audio engineer is pinging me, so I'm trying to see what's up.
Yes.
Doing a live behind the scenes.
Oh, right on.
So this is Blair.
Live to the internet.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all?
Got a whole bunch of nobody watching yet. But Blair Drake is our senior audio director, and he does a fantastic job of making sure that not only the broadcast audio is great and manned, but the in-room experience, and oversees all things audio here. So yeah.
Good man, Erik.
All right.
Get back to work.
Thanks, Blair. So we'll get into a little bit of the music here.
That day, the sun really prayed in the garden, accepted the will of the Father.
So part of what I do is I'm programming the stack that gets broadcast. I'm triggering graphics simultaneously, managing the chat with some amazing volunteers that help to do that, because there's a lot of steps and a lot of things that are happening. But a big part of what I'm doing sitting in this chair is monitoring the stream on a separate network. I'm using my iPad to monitor what people are actually seeing and make sure that that's not interrupted. One of the things that is a big deal for me is redundancy. We have a redundancy of signal that's coming in. We have a redundancy of signal that's coming out, as well as a dedicated network separate from the network that everybody else is on, to minimize any kind of disruption or error or loss. So I'm sending an unlisted signal to YouTube as a backup, in addition to our Living as One stream that goes direct to our regular platform where you're seeing this at live.ccv.church. So I'm about to trigger the countdown clock here. So we have a 5-minute countdown. trigger that now. Programming for today is I've got 2 music videos that are starting pre-service. Another invite information video about the coming up next week. The start of, or just pre-service on top of the regular in-room experience, and you're going to see the in-room experience. So pieces here, one small, larger team. We might get into that, but not going to get into too much of that today. Just wanted to bring you what the weekly broadcast is, and we're broadcasting here 5 different events each week, and 2 or 3 on Sunday morning, and just wanted to dive into the elements that here. So making sure that the graphics machine's working, making sure this is working. Now, because this is ahead of the 8:30, also what's happening live. There's that. So if I tune out, I'm doing work, so I'm not ignoring you. So I'm keeping an eye on what's happening in the room, in the live room. Experience as well as what's happening. So there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time. Might mid-sentence tune out to do something, but just know I'm still with you. But that's okay. About 10 seconds.
Hello, CCB family. It's Ben and Donna and Jordan here, and welcome to service this weekend. We are so excited. Hello, CCB family. It's Ben and Donna.
Yeah, I'm about 10 seconds ahead.
Service this weekend. We are so excited about next Sunday night, March 3rd. Captures our live worship and live floating praise game songs. As a church, I've been learning about the concept of so many captures, many prayers, many of you sent to new songs that come out of church of our CCB campuses all around the world. So many songs are from prayers all across the church. And so we're coming out is about our CCB campuses all around the world. Stories, thanks for faithfulness, and all across the church. And so all these praise God, honor God, celebrate who He is, giving thanks for His faithfulness.
So my live, what's being broadcast live right now versus the video that's playing in the room, I'm ahead by maybe 8 to 10 seconds. I triggered my countdown a little bit early. We do have a master clock that we're running against, but all right, I got it. I'm about 30 seconds away from clearing my countdown clock. Another thing I trigger is from the graphics machine are the song titles. So if you're watching online and if you care to watch the actual live broadcast of what's being broadcast, you can go to live.ccv.church and see the experience that I'm broadcasting. Once we get into the live worship set, then what's going to happen is I'm going to trigger song titles that are happening so that people can recognize what those songs are if they want to go and listen to them at another time. And there's a certain camera shot that I'm looking for when I trigger those titles. So there's the opening shot, which you see here, and then I'm looking for that straight on shot. So for that first straight on shot, I like to, and sometimes there's a wide opener, then there's like a stage cam drum shot, and then that straight on shot. It varies from service to service, but oh, that's I'm exactly one bar off of what's happening over here. So I'm going to respond to some people here in the chat. All right, so everything's going well. And at this point, other than triggering the different title graphics for each song, it's pretty much monitoring what's happening in the chat live, as well as monitoring the streams and everything, and monitoring the record and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So another element of it is that I'm also monitoring the audio so that I can give audio feedback to the broadcast engineer, the audio engineer, and so I'm listening critically to, you know, the music mix, and the vocal mics when the speakers come up and that type of thing, to hear if there's anything that I'm hearing that, you know, to be able to provide constructive feedback to make that mix better. Usually it's very rare that there's any glaring issues. It's pretty solid, but just another layer of QC in trying to create a great experience and a great broadcast here. All right, so we're starting the second song.
Oh, let's keep that going together. Let's put our hands together.
Looking for that shot again. There it is. And I usually try to get that title triggered within the first verse or the first measure. or first chorus, depending on the song structure and that type of thing. So. One of the other elements of what I'm doing, in addition to monitoring the audio, is also monitoring the levels of the audio, which I have the Yamaha QL1, where I can make adjustments once I receive the broadcast mix before it actually goes out into the internet. So. A lot of things to watch at the same time. One of the other things I'm actually testing out is, so next week for the Sunday morning events, we're going to be doing a sim live. So that's where I'm not actually broadcasting the live experience that's happening in the room, but I'm capturing the previous event, which would be, just a few hours before, and then rebroadcasting that. But what the sim live is that it's all right. So I'm triggering another song title here in a second. So. Right. So I'll get back to that in just a second.
He's the one we're singing to tonight. He's the one that we worship, the way, the truth, and the life. Let's continue to lift up his name together.
Waiting for that front shot. There it is. All right. So back to what I was saying earlier about Sim Live. basically, when you're broadcasting on, to a live audience like I'm doing here, now this is actually live. If you're tuning in at this moment, you're seeing this live in real time. Sometimes there's latency, but and there's many aspects that go into what could cause that latency. And if you're not sure what latency is, it's basically when it could be a couple of things. It could be when the audio and the video get out of sync a little bit. You ever watch one of those old kung fu movies, and you see the guy, so you want to fight? Fight me. You will kill my sister. Now you must pay. Meet me at the hill at dusk, and we will fight to the death. And so there's that kind of thing that happens. So that's one element of latency. Another element of latency could be that the broadcast is being sent, and it's stepping through a lot of different stages to get to you as the viewer, and where it gets out of sync of where it was initially broadcast. So it could be 2 minutes behind or 2 seconds behind or something like that. So that's another element of latency. But besides that, Sim Live basically is where we're taking that previously captured live experience and we're rebroadcasting it. Now the broadcast itself is technically live, even though what's being broadcast isn't necessarily live. Does that make sense? I know it gets like, is it live? Is it not? It's still live. It's being broadcast live, even though the material that's being broadcast isn't necessarily live. So hopefully that clears it up. I'm also setting markers in the live record so that I can cut in and out of the live elements. And the tool that I'm using for that is called Grass Valley. It's a software tool that provides, and there's some hardware that goes along with it, but it allows me to record live elements that are in the room and then cut in and out of those, depending on the programming that we're doing. So I'm about to set a marker here, which is another element of something that I'm monitoring at the same time. And I monitor the transitions. That was a pretty seamless audio transition, which is nice. So I'm setting that marker, and then I'm going to edit the title of that marker. So I know I can go right back to that same spot, or I can queue up that exact spot as I'm cutting in and out of that. Everything's running as it should. All systems are good. So back to the Sim Live thing that I wanted to mention that we're talking about. Next weekend, for our Sunday morning events, we're doing Sim Live, primarily because I'm going to be doing load in and setup for the live broadcast that's happening in the evening for the worship night. We're at a separate location, off site, so we have to. It's a stadium event, so we're setting up all the control room stuff for everything that's happening. So my responsibility there is I'm going to be helping with the video engineering, getting cameras set up and dialed in, all the networking setup, the Teradeks setup, so that the video signal can communicate, and so on and so forth. Making sure the battery and all the batteries are good to go, all the backup batteries are good to go, and all the redundant systems that we need to have in place to make sure that it's everything is working as desired and designed. So I'm testing that Sim Live for the first time this week to see. So for the next two events this morning, it's going to be a Sim Live scenario, and I'm going to kind of see how well it works, so that I can confidently go and know that I can set it and let it run. Now, of course, I'll be monitoring it and making sure that it's running. And I can log in remotely and make that happen. And I'll be programming everything the evening before, so should be good to go. So one of the issues, though, with doing that is language. And if I'm doing a sim live, we've got to be very mindful of the language that we're using, as far as calling out like specifics in that particular element, so that if somebody's coming to watch an hour later, that as far as like tonight language versus the morning, or calling out a specific service time or something of that nature, and then you're rebroadcasting that and it's not that time, it's it can be just something that trips people up, and sometimes that happens just naturally. Be here in the morning, and then somebody says, thanks for joining us tonight, because there aren't any windows in the auditorium, and it's easy to forget that it's the morning, or what time of day it is, or whatever. So but yeah, I mean, it's a little bit about what happens behind the scenes. So at this point, basically, we're into the message. Kirk Cousins is on stage, and he's giving his talk and his presentation in the room, and I'm not triggering any graphics, so it's pretty much kind of wait until it's done towards the end, where I trigger walkout music, as well as the other animated series graphics. But other than that, I'm going to we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and yeah, that's a little bit about behind the scenes of the live broadcast that I do each week. So there you have it. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And go ahead and leave a comment below and hit me up if this is beneficial, or if you have any other questions, or you want to talk about live stream, or different tools, software tools. Maybe we'll get into some of that in future live of these behind the scenes, as well as I might do some stuff production wise, or edit wise, or when we actually are producing different video and material that we're broadcasting, and we'll get into that. So anyway, you guys are awesome. Let me know how this can, if you like I said, let me know if you have any other questions, or you want me to dive into something specific in here. You want me to dive into the switcher. You want me to dive into the mixer, or how the rig's configured, or signal flow, or different software elements that we're using to get this all done. Or if it's something else, maybe it's not broadcast related, or if it's stream, or if it's video production, because I'm responsible for producing video elements that we're broadcasting each week. Not everything, but part of it. So I'm going to set another marker here. So anyway, yeah, hit me up in the comment section below. You can send me a tweet at Erik Thureson, or shoot me an email or a DM, and I would love to dive into maybe some elements that you have questions about, or how I can bring more value to you watching the stream. So anyway, you guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.